video presentation, we'll be talking about the present subjunctive. What is it? When do we use it? So first things first, when do we need the subjunctive? Well, there are certain phrases that get used that can cause us to need what's called the subjunctive. Typically, these phrases that we're going to look at are contained in the main clause or the beginning of the sentence, commonly found at the beginning of a sentence. These trigger phrases that are commonly used at the beginning of a sentence can cause a different verb conjugation in the subordinate clause, which is often located at the end of the sentence. So let's take a look first at what some of these trigger phrases are, and then what we do with the verbs. So first things first, we've got general phrases. So some general phrases include it is good that, it is better that, it's bad that, it's important that, it's necessary that, and it's urgent that. Okay? All we do basically when we have these phrases, okay, is that if I have a verb, notice the verb being hablar looks similar to the command form, to a command form. So what we're doing essentially is when we have one of these phrases in the main clause or at the beginning of the sentence, it's forcing us to use what we're calling the subjunctive. And to form the subjunctive, we basically take the yo form of the verb in the present tense. Again, this is to avoid any issues with stem changing verbs. So take the yo form, drop the ending. So if the verb is hablo, I'm going to take off the o. I'm going to keep the habl. Then I'm going to give it an opposite ending, and that's kind of represented here with hables, and we'll take a look more closely with at these opposite endings here in a second. Okay, so we're going to put that on hold. We're going to continue looking at some of these trigger phrases. So we have certain verbs of will and influence. So I suggest that you do something. I desire that you do something. It's important to me that you do something. So notice how I'm kind of imposing my will or influence on someone or something else. I insist that you do something. I command that you do something. I need that you do something, or I need for you to do something. Okay? I ask that you do something. I prefer that you do something. I prohibit that you do something. I want for you to do something. Recommend, I beg, I suggest that you do something. So all of these kind of convey verbs or express our will or influence on someone or something else. When that is the case, at the beginning of the sentence or in the main clause, it's going to cause us to do that flipped ending or subjunctive form at the end. We also have verbs of emotion that can cause this subjunctive behavior. So I'm happy that you do something. I hope that you do something. I like that you do something. It bothers me. I'm sorry that. It surprises me that. I'm afraid that. It's strange that. It's a shame that. It's ridiculous that. It's terrible that. It's sad that. I hope that. So all of these verbs of emotion can also trigger this subjunctive form at the end of the sentence. Also, doubt, disbelief, and denial. I doubt that. I don't believe that. It's not true that. It's impossible that. It's improbable that. Or even when I say it's possible that, there's a certain level of doubt, disbelief, or even denial with these statements. And when these get used, those will also trigger the subjunctive mood, is what it's called. Okay. Other trigger phrases to watch out for, we have conjunctions of contingency. So if we have event A being contingent upon event B, these examples are always subjunctive. So if I'm going to use the word unless before, provided that, in case, so that, or without that. If I use these conjunctions, and again, event A being contingent upon event B, that will trigger the subjunctive. Okay. Conjunctions of time. So we have certain conjunctions of time, such as when. So the word cuando. We have after, is a conjunction of time. And we also have as soon as. Okay, so a couple of conjunctions of time. Conjunctions basically connect two phrases or clauses. All right, if this conjunction of time is being used in a sentence that refers to some point in the future, then that can trigger the subjunctive. If, however, it's in the past, or if it's something that's often done, a habit, if you will, so if it's done in the past or if it's habitual, then it will not trigger the subjunctive. You can notice the examples and read through them. If it's some point in the future, however, the future is unknown in Spanish. Nobody can really tell the future, and because of that uncertainty or lack of knowledge, that will trigger the subjunctive. The past, or something that is often done, is considered to be something that is known, and anything that's rooted in fact or certainty will not trigger this subjunctive conjugation at the end of the sentence. So conjunctions of time are a little tricky because, again, if it's at a point in the future, it can trigger. If it's in the past or something that's commonly done, then it will not. So watch out for conjunctions of time. Study these examples here. We have certain adjective clauses. Okay. If, for example, try and keep this here. So if I'm using certain verbs, such as looking for, to be familiar with someone or know something, to look for or find. Also the verb haber can be used to need or to want, all verbs that kind of fall into this category. So let's take a look at the example here. I'm looking for a house that is red. Okay. So if I'm using the verb buscar and I'm looking for a house, the word a indicates that that particular house is unknown to me. So I'm looking for a house that is red. Because of that lack of knowledge, given the words that were mentioned here, this uncertainty, that will cause us to use the subjunctive. If I were to say, I don't know a man that, okay, that lack of knowledge, that uncertainty will trigger the subjunctive. If I say, I can't find a house, or I don't find a house that is red, that uncertainty or unknown is, or non-existent. If that house is non-existent to me, I can't find it, then that will trigger the subjunctive. And you'll notice in the rules up here it says when the main clause contains a noun that is unknown, uncertain, or non-existent from the point of view of the speaker or narrator, then we use the subjunctive in the subordinate clause. Okay, so I don't, or I can't find a house that. Even when I ask the question, is there a house that? That demonstrates a lack of knowledge or uncertainty. I need a house that. I want a house that. We can change these slightly to where it is rooted or based on fact or knowledge. So, for example, if I say I'm looking for the house that is red, because I changed this word here, I'm looking for the house. The word the indicates that I know or I have previous knowledge of this house. I know that it exists. And so when that's the case, I will use the indicative or the regular verb conjugations. I will not use the subjunctive. Okay. If I say I know a man, okay, so now my statement is rooted in knowledge or certainty, so I do not need the subjunctive here. I found the house that is a certain or a statement rooted in certainty. There is a house that. I need the house that. I want the house that. All of these statements reflect certainty and therefore will not cause the subjunctive. Okay, so watch out for certain adjective clauses. Study those examples there. Now, how to form the subjunctive, we'll take a look at that here in the next video. All right, so stay tuned and we'll go over that.